Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting out the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here, Southern California. One of my guests here is Jack Smith. He is catch him on Inside Troy. He's always in the little corner. You can always see him in the little corner doing his thing. As far as that goes, you've been covering USC this year, and it's been a fabulous year to cover USC. The Clay Helton era is now done. We can kind of move on from that and wax on, wax off as far as that goes. First question for you I have for you, Jack, is first of all, welcome to the show. Second thing is how cool is it to have, like, as far as, and you're a student as well, to be like a student with a really good USC football team? I mean, the people like who just graduated text you and say, damn, man, I left too early?
So first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be on. So I'm a sophomore now, but the interesting thing is I was a spring admit freshman last year, so I wasn't here for the football season.
Oh, okay.
And so this is technically my first football season as a student. So as far as I know, I'm sure graduate students are pretty disappointed that Lincoln Riley showed up right after they left, and maybe they wanted to re-up it for a fifth year. But this is my first football season as a student. I followed along earlier in my life, obviously, but then now covering the team, I mean, it's definitely cool. You're right. There's a completely different aura around the team. So yeah, I would assume students who left last year are probably pretty disappointed.
Yeah, but I mean, they can always come and pack the collie, if you will. So they don't have to worry about that, right? Lincoln Riley shows up. Obviously, does he not get enough credit for kind of pulling? I mean, we all know we can coach X's and O's. We got that. But like pulling this team together, because this is a lot of, there's a myriad of moving parts all over the place, and this team is poised to be, a squad that teams have to deal with for the duration now, because they look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he doesn't like not get enough credit, but I think sometimes it can go overlooked because you look at him as a football coach who he's the one that draws up the plays, but also, I mean, he is, the big orchestrator of one of the crazier off seasons in the history of college football, I would argue. And he's never going to use it as an excuse, bringing transfers from all over the place. But that's just not easy to form a team that through 4 games look like the culture is like almost turned around a whole 180 degrees. And I mean, I said this earlier this week, but he wasn't brought in to have success in year one. Like, clearly USC is thinking about the bigger picture with Lincoln Riley, but I definitely think he's done a fantastic job so far, not only on the football field, but just turning this culture into something that's a little bit different than the Clay Helton era. And it really just seems like all these guys are gelling, and it is crazy considering the circumstances. So yeah, I would say he definitely deserves a lot of credit for stuff on the football field, but also off.
And I know he's doing the right things, because when you hear, I think I watched Pac-12 Network, and they made it seem like, the last game the Trojans played, like the Beavers were up by 25 points, the way they were talking about the game. And I hear Tim Brando, I don't know if you heard his comments about USC when he was doing the Ohio State Toledo game, like before the Fresno game, saying that, I don't take them seriously. If they blow out Fresno State, I'll take them seriously. Well, they blew out Fresno State, so do you take them seriously now? I mean, they really are a talented football team. The part of the team that everybody worried about was the defense, Alex Grinch, and every single week they get more and more entrenched in his system, and the turnovers are coming left and right. What are your thoughts about what he's done with this defensive unit?
So yeah, from the first week, I mean, it was clearly not a perfect defensive performance, but every week since then, they've improved in a certain aspect, and it hasn't been perfect. But at the same time, like, the defense is allowing a lot of yards and not allowing a lot of points. So I think that they're like, from day one, I've always thought there's a clear potential with this defense. Forcing the turnovers is a key indicator that there is some success there in the future. And we definitely saw that in the Oregon State game, only 14 points allowed. It's clear that it matches Alex Grinch's defensive mindset. And yeah, he hasn't had a ton of success in his past jobs, but I really like what he's done with the defense. He's obviously such a great speaker and stuff like that. And he's brought the defense to, I think, a pretty good spot. It's definitely a respectable defense.
Mm-hmm.
Are they ever going to have, with the roster they've got right now, the best defense in football that never allows any yards, never allows any points? Probably not. But at this point, they haven't really allowed very many points all season. They're being a little bit more stingy against the run yardage wise. And I think they're improving game to game. So I think that Alex Grinch has all those players bought in. It's not going to be a perfect defense, but I think it's a really good defense that when Lincoln Riley's offense is working at the level it's supposed to, it makes USC be a pretty tough team to beat.
I don't know if you caught this, but when they were when the Fresno was driving in that like garbage time, he kind of pulled everybody over and kind of got into him a little bit, and it meant something to have that fourth down stop. I'm gonna go on to kind of talk about that a little bit, but like I think that was a moment where I kind of felt like, you know, he really, these guys really want to play hard for him and really kind of respect what he's trying to do.
And it wasn't just him either, because we got to talk to him and Lincoln Riley after that game, and Eric Gentry, who I know you wanted to talk about a little bit later. But I mean, Alex Grinch, Eric Gentry, and Lincoln Riley all said like that stop was the highlight of the game. The game was already over. The second team was in, and yet here's Shane Lee, Tuli Tuipulotu, Eric Gentry coming in and giving huge congratulations to all the guys for stopping Fresno State late in that game. And like, maybe it doesn't matter because the game's already over. Like that's what the casual fan would think. But like this team doesn't want to leave any points on the table, doesn't want their points. Like they don't want their opponent to score at all. Doesn't matter if it's the last play of the game or the first. And I think that definitely signals a culture shift. But no, I mean, Grinch has been clear about that since day one. It doesn't really matter when it is. He wants the defense to be playing at their peak level at any point during the game.
And that just shows a lot of pride. I mean, and then I love to see that from a USC football team. You mentioned Gentry. I mean, the guy he's a little bit of a unicorn there, right? I mean, he is that 7 foot. I mean, I'm looking at the game, and you watch the game, it was like Kevin Durant's on the field, running around. Can you talk about his impact defensively and kind of a good thing that he saw the writing on the wall at ASU before everything that went down there?
Well, he wasn't the only one. I think a lot of people saw the writing on the wall at ASU. And I mean, they had so many transfers out of that program to all across the country. But ever since Eric Gentry's gotten to USC, he's just slowly rose up. And now he's one of the clear leaders on this defense. I mean, obviously just a very unique talent, a 6'6" middle linebacker. You look at that and you're like, that's not supposed to be a thing. Like 6'6" guys aren't supposed to play middle linebacker, but he's adopted it. He's worked at it. He's learned how to make the routine plays, which is something the coaches have really talked about since day one. And now you see him making the biggest impact maybe of anyone on the Trojan defense outside of Tuli Tuipulotu. He had an interception. He had 2 deflections, including one that led to the game-winning interception. He's really all over the field. And another thing that sticks out to me is his leadership. I mentioned earlier this week, like bold take, I think he's pretty clearly going to be a captain next season. I'm probably going to stick by that the entire time because he's really emerged as the leader on this defense. Like Shane Lee got all the press earlier in the offseason because he had the experience as a leader. He wasn't, learning a new position, anything like that. But ever since then, Eric Gentry's been the one that USC sent out to talk. Eric Gentry's been the one that's had the best quotes and has really modeled what Alex Grinch wants. I think Eric Gentry is one of the 2 biggest leaders on this defense, probably him and Tuli. He's been pretty much everything USC's wanted and more so far. And with his frame and everything that they want to add, he clearly has room to grow with another season down the line. So I really think this guy's a limit for Eric Gentry. He's so unique. And it's just, I think it's great to see him out there performing on the football field too, because it was always clear the potential was there and he's gotten very consistent as well.
Can you talk about Tuli a little bit too? Because I mean, here's a guy who on that defensive line, I think the only thing, if this team just had just a kind of a burner on the side as far as like just getting to the quarterback, a pass rusher, I think that would be the next level. And they'll probably look at that, obviously in recruiting and everything like that. But with Tuli, he's, I mean, every week you just see him make play after play, TFL all the time. He's talking about his leadership and what he means to that defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, he's so versatile and he's so valuable for the USC defensive line because you can put him at any point. Like they don't have a great edge group, and you could put him and he'd probably be their number 1 edge rusher, and he's still their number 1 D tackle. He could be both at the same time. Like that's valuable enough. But it's also just his consistency. He's one of the few guys that are still here from the previous staff that are getting a ton of playing time. I mean, it's pretty much the offensive line and Tuli are the big pieces that stayed over from the Clay Helton years. He was great then. He's still great now. And he's blossomed into more of a leader. He's becoming a better speaker as well. Yeah. I know Mel Kiper, the draft analyst, bumped him, I think, into his top 20 prospects, which I mean, I think SC fans always knew Tuli Tuipulotu is good, and he's taken his game to just a clear other level where now he's a possible first round guy according to some of the bigger name draft analysts. So he's really had a fantastic year so far. It's a lot of stuff too that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Tons of pressures, always in the quarterback's face, always meeting the running back in the backfield, and maybe sometimes siphoning off tackles for loss or sacks to other players on the defensive line. So he makes everyone around him better. It's way easier if you're Dejon Benton or you're Solomon Byrd to be playing next to Tuli Tuipulotu, because he just wrecks havoc every time he steps foot on the football field.
Yeah, and it's I mean, this channel is USC football and Las Vegas Raiders football as well, and we are definitely looking for somebody to go to rush the passer alongside Max Crosby. This guy could be around that area where the Raiders pick. So that would be good to see him. And I got Raider fans texting me about him too. So that's kind of cool to see somebody getting that kind of recognition.
I will say though, 0-3 start. You think the Raiders are picking a little higher than expected?
They'll be in the middle. They'll be in the middle of the pack. They'll be in the pack. They'll Carr will do his thing and they'll win 8 games and they'll still have questions about him. So that's the way.
That sounds like the Raiders, yeah.
That sounds like Derek Carr as well too. So we know all about that. As far as the defense, we spoke about that a little bit. As far as the offensive side of the ball, I think the one thing that really excited me about. I mean, people treat the word air raid like it's a swear word in college football, whatever. But I think the thing about with Lincoln Riley's part of it is he at his core, when they really need to play, he wants to run the football, and that is like a beautiful thing. As a football fan, you gotta love that, like the toughness. I think the one game never got so many texts in my life when I think Caleb Williams for a play went under center. People ASC fans lost their mind, but you saw it in the 4th down touchdown that Travis Dye had, and the way Jones runs the football. It's really good to see a USC team be able to smash the football right at the opponent when they're ready to go. Yeah,
Lincoln Riley gets the wrong reputation. He's produced running backs. I mean, look at Joe Mixon going off so far this season, including yesterday on Thursday Night Football. That's Lincoln Riley's running back. He likes to run the ball and he's good at it. And the offensive line's a big reason why he can do it so far at USC. But Travis Dye is the other huge reason. I would argue he'd probably been the most valuable player on the USC offense just because of his consistency through all 4 games. He's got 3 straight 100-yard rushing games. It feels like every single time they've needed something from him and they've given him the ball, he's returned on what USC wants. He's gotten that first down, gotten the touchdown, converted on 4th or 3rd. I think he's just been fantastic for the Trojans, and he's such a warrior. He's in his 5th year in college, playing through injuries, even mid-game, just getting his way through practice to be able to play on Saturday and still ripping off 100 yards. I mean, you can't say enough about Travis Dye as a leader. And as a journalist, he's a quote machine. He just says the right things every time, and he's so entertaining to talk to. But I don't think they could have gotten a better running back in the transfer portal than Travis Dye. He's been, I think, just everything that they've wanted, which is now you're looking at multiple players from the transfer portal that have been that so far for the Trojans. Solomon Byrd, Eric Gentry, Travis Dye. These are all guys that USC went out and got, and they've maximized so far.
A couple things before I let you go. Jordan Addison, I was worried about him in a game like when they played Oregon State, not getting the ball and staying engaged. He obviously did in that ball game. Has he been a pleasant surprise as far as, we all know how talented he is, but just how kind of engaged and how, how he's been with Caleb Williams. I mean, it's like they've been playing together for a long time.
Yeah, I think him and all the receivers in the room just understand how much talent they've got at the wide receiver position and realize hey, maybe I'm not going to get as many targets this game, but eventually I am. Eventually I'm going to get mine. So you've seen guys like Taj Washington be patient and then have a big game. Jordan Addison, patient, then have a big game. Same with Mario Williams, all the guys in the receiver room. We all knew the talent was going to be there. Some had questions about his mental makeup. I don't think I did. I think he's proven that you shouldn't have been doubting him as a player or a person. He's been great for the Trojans so far, and it's clear he didn't have any targets through the first half, and finally when they needed it most, he was wide open right there on the hole shot. So I think Jordan Addison, there's no worries there. Same with Mario Williams. I think the offense figures it out. It's kind of just a matter of when and not if. Are you surprised that, because I'm an in the trenches guy, are you surprised that they're able to get this, offensive line just clicking? Because it seems like they just been, yes, there's been times where Caleb Williams has had to escape, and he's great at that. He's fantastic at that. But they've been able to just run the football and
just doing a really good job in pass cover and pass block.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised because the offensive line is so experienced. Even when Cortland Ford went out and they bring in Bobby Haskins, like that's a multi-year starter at Virginia. And you look across the USC offensive line from left guard to right tackle, and it's just dudes that have been here at USC for a long time. Dedich, Nealon, Voorhees, and Monheim. Like, I'm not sure you're going to find a more dedicated group of people or a more experienced offensive line in the nation. So far, they've all been relatively healthy and they've been just mauling people. I mean, and then you just look at the Nealon nudge play, and it just shows you how bottom they are. So I'm not surprised. I don't think that the offensive line is performing, and they're going to get a little bit of flack, I think, for the Oregon State game. But in reality, like that was just a lot of blitzes by Oregon State, and Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams just didn't have the answers in the short passing game. So I wouldn't even put that game all that much on the offensive line. They've really been a big standout, and the reason why the offense has been clicking when it has.
Yeah. Last thing. Do they have? I mean, I don't even want to put it out there, but I know people are gonna kill me if I don't. Do they have an outside shot at that playoff? I mean, they got some tough games coming up. I mean, obviously, especially when you play Utah at Utah, and then Washington looks really good as well. What do you think? You think there's an outside chance of getting into that game?
Well, I think you look at where they stand right now, and like they're the sixth ranked team in the nation. So I wouldn't consider it an outside shot. I think it's like if they don't get there, it's because they lost games. And I think you look at the schedule one by one and you think USC should probably win all those games. So I'm not sure I consider it an outside shot because there are just, one loss in front of them to moving up to the 5th spot and then one more to the 4th. I know college football playoff rankings are a different thing, but if they handle business, if they go in week by week and just win every game, like even if you lose one, I think a 1-loss or 2-loss Pac-12 champ, if some other stuff goes on in front of them, which it probably should, because Michigan's got to play Ohio State, Alabama's going to probably have to play Georgia. They've also got harder games to mix in. We'll see what Clemson does this weekend against NC State. But if USC handles business and wins the Pac-12, like I think most people think they should, they've got a pretty good shot. And I think this will be the best shot that USC's had since that Sam Darnold year.
Yeah, no question about it. Jack Smith here. Where can everybody find you?
All right, so I'm Jack Smith PXP on both Instagram and Twitter. Do tunnel vision and do work for USCfootball.com, which is 247 Sports. So doing shows for them every Thursday and Sunday. But I really appreciate coming on and talking football with you.
No problem, man. Take care, and we'll definitely see you then. All right, take care.
Thank you.